Do you find that your travel photos usually fall kind of short when capturing the magic? Well, these compositional tips that I go over in this video is going to help you out quite a bit. Today, come join me on an adventure at Green Lake State Park in New York, and I'll teach you some of these compositional tips while I showcase this national landmark. For tip number 1, let's go ahead and talk about symmetry. Symmetry can be found everywhere in the wild, but a very common place is if you look in water when it's calm out, you can see the reflection, which makes it a very symmetrical image. So out there's a building and there's a very nice reflection in the lake. And let's go ahead and see if we can snap a quick photo of that. Now, when you're trying to find symmetry, you can find it in a lot of places. You can be looking for logs laying parallel to each other, various trees that are standing up that look similar, rocks that are next to each other. All of these individual things create symmetry and will create more compelling images. There's a few more compositional tips I want to talk about, but first, let's talk about where I'm at. As you can tell, today I'm at a lake, and this is Green Lake State Park in New York. What makes this lake so special is that it's so clear that you can see the bottom along the shoreline, and it looks very teal and aqua. This unique lake is called a meromictic lake, which is a type of lake that has distinct layers where water does not mix throughout the year. Typically in normal lakes, also known as holomictic lakes, the layers of water and minerals blend together, preventing that stark contrast that you see in meromictic lakes. There's only a few of these in the country, and if you ever get a chance to see one, I definitely recommend it. The water looks like it's coming from something right out of a storybook, and it's so unbelievably clear that it's easy to see all the fallen trees and rocks beneath the surface. So let's dive right into the next compositional tip here, and that's going to be the principle of leading lines. Now you can see leading lines anywhere. It could be a log, a trail like this. You can use things like a coastline, and sometimes it might not be that apparent. Just try and find those leading lines and see if it can grab your viewer's attention and draw it towards the center of the screen. So we have this road here. I'm going to use it to draw the viewer's attention to the center of the path. And I'm going to start off back in the lower corner of the screen a little. So let's go ahead and snap a quick shot. One thing I really like about Green Lake State Park is how easy the trail system is. You can be an absolute beginner or struggle with hiking and be able to do it just fine. What would you rate this photo spot?
Do you mean like this spot or the whole area?
This spot.
10.
It's 10. Let's see if she's right. Here, hold this.
Oh, I get it. Like you're going to take a picture.
Yeah.
I thought you were just going to tell me the answer. It's water. Water is always great for a sunset spot and a photo spot in general. And then also, even though Joe doesn't care about the types of trees, but I really love cedar trees. So they're like cascading down through this view. And also there's this really cool root structure over here of cedar roots, which is really nice. And then there's this random rock thing, which I really don't understand what that came from, but my parents would know. And then the sun sets right over that hill over there. So those are my reasons for rating it a 10.
What do you guys think? So moving on to the next tip here, let's go ahead and talk about natural framing. So this one's pretty self-explanatory. Think about when you take a photo and print it out and you frame it. It makes the image pop off a little more. Well, you can do this out in the wild as well. As you can see here, I have 2 trees, and I'm gonna use these 2 trees as kind of like a natural frame for my subject, which is the lake in this scenario. Trees are typically the most common and easily seen natural frame, but you can also use other things like cliff sides or boulders or other foreground elements next to you to help frame your shot. So the last compositional tip I have for y'all today is using foreground elements. So when looking for foreground elements, you're looking for like interesting trees, rocks, leaves, anything like that that's close to you and on the ground. And what we're gonna wanna do is get very low and close to that object. And we're gonna use this as the bottom part of our image. The idea here is we want to create layers. This is gonna help make your image a little bit more three-dimensional, especially if you have a foreground, a midground, and a background. Play around with different foreground elements. You can get pretty creative with this one. Just keep in mind that your foreground element's not always your subject of focus. So a well-composed image is gonna have that center of focus and also that foreground element. Now, as you practice these compositional tips, as well as other compositional tips, You will start seeing the more and more you do it, the more natural it's going to come to you. When I first started off photography, I had to consciously think about these tips. But now, as I walk around a trail, I can kind of just see, hey, I think this looks like a good image. So I take a quick photo, look back at it, and I notice things like symmetry, framing, and the other tips that we went over in this video. If you want to see more compositional landscape photography tips, check out the suggested video I have at the end here. If you like this video, please consider hitting that like button and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And until next time, I'll catch you in the next video.